What's up, everybody? Brandon B doing an album review of Parrish. This album is called Hip Hop Bebop. It looks like it was compiled of all his singles from the early 80s, and they put together the album to be released. This one is from 1993, right? So it's just all the songs put together. But when you think about 80s music, well, let's say when most people think about 80s music, they don't think of hip hop. You know, people are, oh, let's listen to 80s, play some 80s. No one is even thinking about hip hop. They're just thinking like Human League and Simple Minds and all that stuff, which is great. I love all that music. But this album, these are all singles from 1982, 1983, 1984, right? Now, Parrish, kind of an obscure name to most, but to those in hip hop, the people that know hip hop and understand hip hop, they all know Parrish. Why? Because Boogie Down Bronx. Why? Because of the song Hip Hop Bebop. And also Hey There Homeboys, right? So I'm going to review this album. It's a amazing banger. So if you want to listen to 80s music, 80s hip hop, you can play this whole thing from the very beginning to the end. It's 15 tracks long. It starts with Hip Hop Bebop, Don't Stop. This song is just incredibly tight. So when you think about a guy like Parrish, you know, growing up in New York, you know, probably through, you know, definitely through the 60s, partying and in the club scene throughout the 70s. Parrish was right there at the pulse of New York music, at the pulse of when hip hop was first starting in the late 70s, right, into the 80s. So the influence of hip hop is expressed through his music, right? Hip Hop Bebop, Don't Stop is just a incredible hip hop classic song. The drum programming is incredible. All the synths and the sequences, the chord progressions, all of it just kind of really describes the grittiness, and it gives a soundscape to what early hip hop sounded like, you know, especially electro music, right? Especially music driven by, you know, drum programming and synths and vocoders as well. All of his vocals on this album are through vocoder, which is pretty interesting. But Hip Hop Bebop, Don't Stop, absolute incredible banger. Then it moves to In the Beginning, which is just an interlude track. He's got these like kind of wicked laughs going on, and you know, it's kind of harkens back to that early electro 80s type of type of intros that they used to have. Then it moves into Man Made, which is a absolute electro banger. This song is up there with the, you know, the Twilight 22s, you know, the Cybertrons, right? Siberian Nights, Electric Kingdom, Clear, of course, Africa Bambaataa, and so forth. But when you think of early 80s bangers in terms of electro hip hop bangers, Man Made is right up there. It's a lesser known song. People don't know it as much as they do, you know, the others, but it's a banger. I love Man Made. Then it moves into Together Again, which is kind of like a doo-wop type of song. With a song like Together Again, and it sounds like there's a live saxophone on there, which I really like. Together Again isn't necessarily a track that's going to immediately grab your ear. You know, if you are not familiar with Parrish, or if it's your first time listening to it, it's not really a song that you're going to gravitate towards immediately. It's an acquired taste. You actually have to know and be a fan of Man Parrish to appreciate the song Together Again, because it's created and crafted in its time, which is 1982. But you can tell Man Parrish, his influence of music, prior to disco, it was probably some doo-wop, right, and soul. So you can hear some of that influence in Together Again, right? And then it moves into then it moves into Hip Hop Bebop Don't Stop Part 2. Just again, an incredible track. B-boys. This is a song for B-boys to get down for sure, right? It's a hip hop track, right? Together Again, not so much of a hip hop track. Man-made, straight up electro track, which is in the same vein as New York hip hop, right? Then it moves into 6 Simple Synthesizers, which is right along the same lines as Man-Made. Incredible electro banger. Drum programming is sick. The synths and the chord progressions and all the melodies. It's just dope. It's just really incredible. This whole album is a great listen to from the front to back, right? When people say 80s, most of them are just talking about, just regular 80s, pop hits, but they're not talking about electro hip hop. This is it. All these songs are from 82, 83, 84. It moves into techno tracks, which is another dope electro banger. Then it moves into street clap. Then it moves into Heat Stroke. And obviously you guys can tell that I don't care about editing. I don't have time to really deal with a lot of that stuff. I think it's important. I'm the only person that's actually doing an album review of Man Parrish, right? And I'm already busy, I got the shirt and everything. I'm already busy doing a lot of stuff. I don't have time to edit a lot of stuff. But it's important to get this out there because this album is super incredible, especially considering Heat Stroke. This is a disco song with electro influence. This is a disco classic with vocoder vocals. This is the blend of disco and electro, right? At the time of hip hop being formed. Heat Stroke is my favorite song, dare I say, next to Boogie Down Bronx. Heat Stroke is a classic. If you're not familiar with Heat Stroke, you should be familiar with Heat Stroke. I love it. This song is it just gets me every single time. You should be familiar with Heat Stroke. Then it moves into Hey There Homeboys, which is a b-boy anthem. I could just picture, b-boy crews just going off in a cypher to Hey There Homeboys. The drums are hard. The melodies are just, the harmonization, the chant. Dude, it's all there. It's another classic hip hop song. It's a lesser known one compared to some of the others, but people know, if you know, you know. People know about Hey There Homeboys. All these songs were released, the majority of them were released on vinyl. They were singles, right? And then ultimately they wrapped everything up and put it together in an album. And this is just a great album to listen to from front to back. After Hey There Homeboys, it goes into the dub, which the dubs on this album are great because it's extended instrumentals with different sequencing. You get a taste of you get that taste of the grit of city life in NYC in the early 80s. This is the soundscape. You want to know what early hip hop in its creation looks like. You want to know what early electro looks like. You want to hear some dope production. At the time of when hip hop was really starting to come out of New York, what does that sound like? Well, it sounds like Hey There Homeboys. It sounds like hip hop bebop, right? It sounds like Boogie Down Bronx, which is the absolute classic of hip hop. So people know Man Parrish from Boogie Down Bronx. Okay. This is the best beat on here. The best beat. The bass line is incredible. The synths are incredible. The arpeggiation. Oh my God, dude. Okay. And then look, this is a B-boy classic. Okay. Boogie Down Bronx, B-boy classic. Anyone who knows hip hop, they know, they worship Boogie Down Bronx. Okay. You got Cool John Ski rapping on here, and he's from the Freeze Force crew. I don't know, or I'm not aware of any Freeze Force crew records that are out there. I can't recite any other Cool John Ski rhymes outside of Boogie Down Bronx. So this could be his only appearance on, on record. If there's more Cool John Ski or more Freeze Force that's out there, please let me know. Drop it in the comments. Let me know. I can't recall from my last search that there was more Freeze Force records out there. I don't think there is any. With this album, or with this song, Boogie Down Bronx, could John Ski be the first person to diss Africa Bambaataa? I don't know. He says, "You got the perfect beat, I hear you say." And then he has some other lines after that, but remember, these guys, Man Parrish, producer. He was a producer. African Bambaataa, dudes from Soul Sonic Force. They are, somebody was the main producer in that crew. They're competing, right? They're competing for the sound, right? They're defining what electro and what hip hop is supposed to sound like during these years. Looking for the Perfect Beat is an African Bambaataa smash. It is, the follow-up after Planet Rock. Planet Rock is groundbreaking. Everyone knows that. Looking for the Perfect Beat, incredible. Cool John Ski might be, listen to it. He might have straight up dissed Africa Bambaataa. I don't want to go as, too far to suggest that, but they are competing. Man Parrish, incredible producer. Africa Bambaataa, incredible DJ. And he might have been involved in the production. Somebody correct me and let me know. But they're competing. So yeah, you might even have the first diss on Africa Bambaataa back then. It was all in competition, right? It's all in competition. Boogie Down Bronx, the dub is just an extended instrumental with different sequencing and so forth. It's just incredible. Moves into the club version of Heat Stroke, and then it ends with Hip Hop Bebop Don't Stop, the remix. Just an incredible full-length listen of all these songs. So I'm telling you, if you're not familiar with Man Parrish, you should be. If you love 80s music, but you don't consider hip hop or early 80s to be part of that playlist, you're tripping. You're tripping. This belongs up there, right? And what's also really cool and very unique and rare about Man Parrish is he was gay. Okay? I think that's really cool. And maybe not a lot of people knew that back then, because as hip hop evolved, right, there are aspects of hip hop that became a lot more aggressive. You had folks that started coming out in the early days, right? People before Schoolie D and Just Ice, right? But as, figures like that kind of shaped that aspect of hip hop, you didn't really hear too much about Man Parrish, right? He kind of moved into more dance music, right? Especially Chicago, but also New York, especially as those cities started to develop house music, right? And also techno out of Detroit. Man Parrish started going in that direction. He's a producer, he's an artist, right? You don't have to just stick to one form of music. But when he did hip hop, he was there right when it started, and he helped define the sound of New York hip hop. He defined the sound of what it's really like to be a b-boy in New York, right? To what it's like to be an MC, you know, bringing on Cool John Ski to lay down a hip hop classic. So that's what's cool about Man Parrish, is he's an incredible producer. He's unique and he's obscure. People don't really know and really knows about him. But look, I got the shirt. You know what I'm saying? Actually, you got to check out the back of this shirt. You know, I'm going to be the only album review guy to disrobe on a review, you know, because I got to let you know, Man Parrish, Boogie Down Bronx, hip hop, bebop, hey there, homeboys, you know. Oh, Heat Stroke is my favorite. So, yo, that's the album review, Man Parrish, and I'll see you on the flip side.